98?
97?
Babe, you are so good at dates. I can't even get over it. Yeah, it's 97.
Just that
I've been
bit
trying
of
to
the
date
90s.
Tim for a while.
Yeah, good luck. Hello, and welcome back to Rewatching Home Movies, a weekly watch-along podcast where three friends break down the 2001 Adult Swim animated series, Home Movies. My name is Tim, and I am obsessed with home movies.
My name's Adele, and I'm a home movies newbie.
My name is Marcin, and I've never seen home movies.
Home Movies, Season 1, Episode 7, titled It Was Supposed to Be Funny. Original air date September 9th, 2001 on Adult Swim. Written by Bill Bradis, Brendan Small, Lauren Bouchard, Melissa Barton-Galsky, H. John Benjamin, and Janine DiTullio. The synopsis of this episode, as per Home Movies Fandom Wiki. Brendan makes a documentary about Melissa's grandfather, but he decides to spice it up when he thinks it's going to be boring. That's it. It was just a one-sentence synopsis for that one.
You told us the episode title beforehand. I was like, oh no, is that going to spoil anything? No.
Not really, no. And like a lot of episodes, Brendan does say the title of the episode in this particular episode.
Oh, because okay.
He's talking to Coach, so we will jump into that. But first, let's take a little detour, shall we, into the creative corner. Just a quick little what's up of something we're consuming, creating, whatever. Who would like to go first?
Didn't you go? Oh, nose goes. I'll go first. There is a band that I found on TikTok. Actually, not TikTok. I found their TikTok afterwards. I found them because I was going through covers on YouTube of hers covers specifically, and I found them on there, and they have one album and I think one EP out. They're called Kim Fits, and it's just a band of dueling guitars. I love their music. They dropped an album, I think, last year, but I wanted to showcase them specifically because there's a story involved with it. Last year, when me and Nate were doing the Season of the Curse 2 fundraiser live stream, I was reaching out to a bunch of musicians to try and get them to come on or like do interviews with, or just participate in general. And I found them, and I really liked them, and it was one of those days where I had consumed an edible, and I was really into their music, and I had reached out to other musicians via Instagram, and I reached out to them, and I was like, hey guys, I love you so, like, huge paragraph of just like, I love you guys so much. I just thrown out ideas. I was like, oh, why don't you guys do like a little like live show for us on the thing? And it's just like so much of it. They ghosted me because who wouldn't when you receive a long, just vomit of words. But I've been listening to them since then beyond. I really like them. A lot of their great music is just so like heartfelt. I'll play you guys some tunes later.
What genre did you say the genre?
The kind of dream poppy, kind of,
okay.
But like just very bedroom pop, but also just fun. They got like a couple songs about their cats. There's Betty, which me and Nick, every time we call our cat Bebby, so we're like Bebby, and just against to the tune of the song. A lot of their music is kind of like how hers was. It's very involved with like love and your feelings and stuff like that. So each song, I would say, is a lot about like melancholy romance for the world and stuff like that. As pretentious as that sounds, I really like the band. It's called Kim Fits, KIMFITZ, which is both their names like combined, because it's a very like platonic romance type of a band, and I really like them.
Yeah,
Okay. So this is like a duo.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
I found a lot of their stuff on YouTube. They got some music videos. They're really creative, and I really, really like them.
Kim Fits.
Yeah.
Is it all one word?
Yeah, all one word. Shout out to them. They just dropped a new single called, I think, Ticking. A lot of their music is really good. Last year when they released the album, I wish I had money saved up at that point, but they released a CD, physical copy of both of them in high school in the choir. So they both were dressed
Love
up.
That.
Yeah, I wanted to get that so bad, but I didn't have money at the time. But that's my creative corner. Love those guys.
Nice.
Hell yeah. I can go now.
Okay.
So, Marcin, on the last episode, you had mentioned a documentary that you'd watched and then revisited sometimes later after some life experience, and it kind of changed your perspective of the documentary. I actually had a very similar thing happen to me, and I'm glad you mentioned it because I needed a creative corner for this. In 2008, there was a documentary that came out called Heckler, and it was actually made by Jamie Kennedy. And I'll go on record right now and say I might not be the biggest fan of Jamie Kennedy's movies, even some of his stand-up I've seen, and I can't necessarily say I'm a huge fan of it. But basically, Jamie Kennedy created a documentary after he made the movie Son of the Mask, which was panned by critics. I mean, he was reading people's review of the movie saying that Jamie Kennedy's entire family need to die, basically.
Oh my God.
So he created this documentary, and it's kind of threefold. It covers it's called Heckler, and it covers exactly that, hecklers, like people who heckle comedians or other figureheads. Then it talks about like critics who like write reviews online and stuff like that. And it's essentially from a creative person's perspective who does hear a lot of negative feedback, and decided to create this documentary to actually like sit down. Like he had a person heckle him at a comedy show and then invited him into the green room and interviewed him for the documentary. I watched this movie in 2008 just because I worked at Blockbuster at the time when it came out. And then like 8 years after that, I started to pursue stand-up comedy, and not to maybe 6 months into the start of that pursuit, I got heckled really bad. Like kind of shut down my entire set. It was a really weird open mic. They actually made the guy go on stage and try to do jokes, and it was supposed to like teach them a lesson, but I don't really know if it did. But it really messed me up when it happened. So then I went back and I rewatched the documentary, and now I'm watching it from that creative standpoint. And it did kind of give a lot of insight as to like why people heckle, especially at comedy shows, which is always weird to me, which is something I personally have to deal with literally on a weekly basis. So it made me gain a lot of respect for Jamie Kennedy to put himself out there. And like, dude, he knows the quality of some of his content. He's not in denial.
Well, you made Son of the Mask, or he was attached to Son of the Mask.
Yeah.
Have you seen Son of the Mask?
I haven't seen The Mask. I haven't seen...
You haven't seen The Mask?
Sorry. I know. I'm sorry.
Oh, my God. Sorry, that threw me. But back to, we're going to have a discussion. But back to the Jamie Kennedy thing. What your perspective when you first watched it? What was it? Just like an interesting documentary?
Yeah, it was just an interesting documentary. I think back then I was just more into documentaries.
Yeah. Documentaries are interesting. It's very hard to get people to sit down and watch a documentary, because for the longest time, I wanted you two to watch American Movie with me, and then when I rewatched it, I was like, oh, I don't want anyone to watch this with, especially if they're working with me. As far as heckling goes, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I know how we feel about the second someone starts heckling. Every time, before I even met you or knew any comedian, I hated hecklers. Like the idea of someone just like saying anything to anybody. I don't know why people heckle anyone.
Yeah. There's a laundry list of kind of things I think that can occur to cause heckling, especially at open mics. It's an ego thing. It's I'm funnier than these people. It's an attention thing. A lot of times. Main character
syndrome.
Main character, drugs and alcohol are involved more often than not.
I mean, I won't bring this up if you don't want to, but did you have an example of like a bad heckle that you've had, or even a funny heckle?
We literally, our open mic that I help run, like got ground to a halt because of a heckler.
That one, yeah.
Yeah. That was a scary one.
Yeah.
That was one where people thought he was going to start hurting people. Yeah, no heckling situation is ever. The one that kind of caused me, it was really weird because it was an open mic. I literally got called up on stage. I walked up, I went to grab the microphone, and then this dude just started like ripping into me, like looks and I hadn't done one joke. He's like, look at this broke ass Jason Lee looking.
Jason Lee?
Yeah.
Who's Jason Lee?
The dude from My Name is Earl.
Yeah. That's a weird pull for you.
Yeah. It's you.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Clerks?
No.
If I showed you a picture, you might.
You definitely know.
I normally get Dave Grohl, so Jason Lee was out of left field for me.
Yeah, Jason. I would not pull a Jason Lee from you.
But Okay, so long story short, the documentary Heckler, regardless if you're a creative type or not, very interesting watch. That's my creative corner for the week.
It's not going to be the Dark Crystal. I should make it though. I'm going to stand on my Wonka soapbox real quick because I just watched the movie. I know. Let me just disclaimer.
Okay.
If you are not into it because of Hugh Grant, that's reasonable. I'm not going to knock anybody for that. But Hugh Grant aside, it is an excellent movie. It is so good that, okay, I grew up with the original Gene Wilder, Willy Wonka, and then I was traumatized just like everybody else with Johnny Depp's Willy Wonka. So I went into this movie with very to the ground expectations. The music alone is worth watching it. Even if you just listen to the soundtrack, you don't have to watch the movie. It's fine. The music is phenomenal.
The music is very catchy.
It is such a nod to the original Gene Wilder musical. It gave me all the feels. I cried multiple times. It's great.
Do you think the Johnny Depp version is what's causing people to have hesitancy towards this one?
I'm not entirely sure. I just know that one was trash and I will not watch it again.
That's interesting because I disagree.
You like the Johnny Depp version?
I like the version of it, not for any of the kids. I think the most creative part of it was the different style of the Oompa Loompas. I liked that the way that Deep Roy was in there, and he did so much work for it. It was all just one dude, and it really like catapulted him. Not catapulted him, but like did a good job for his career and like really showcased his stuff. That's why I don't like the Hugh Grant stuff. But it was such a different style that I was okay with it. And the reason you cannot like, you know, Charlie and Chocolate Factory, that's fine because it's basically Willy Wonka, the backstory of it. But I really liked his backstory and like the thing with his
the
father.
dentist dad. Yeah.
And there's such a good bit where he's like, Willy Wonka, Willy. And then he's just standing right there. He's like, this is the best place for the show. Like, what do you mean?
I will say, I think I might have liked it a little bit better if they casted somebody other than, I just don't think Johnny Depp was, in my mind, Willy Wonka. He was very creepy to me. And to me, Willy Wonka is Gene Wilder. You know, that kind of like, that kind of whimsical, kind of magical man and not this like,
off-putting, mean,
disturbing. Like kids want to hang out with Willy Wonka. As a kid, I wouldn't want to hang out
like
with Johnny
Gene
Depp's
Wilder.
Willy Wonka.
Was like still being, you know, cute with the other kids and like trying to like being whimsical, but then Johnny Depp's version wasn't. The only thing I would be okay with watching Wonka. I think just even in the trailer with Timothée Chalamet was like, wait, stop that, reverse it. Like I think that was such a good way to take that character and to be more whimsical. But the reason why I personally think, and you know why everyone else might think, why they don't want to watch Wonka is just so many prequels, so many sequels, so many just like we're gonna go and dig out of this thing because we know it's gonna make money, and not Marvelitis and all of that.
I get that, but I don't watch Marvel, so I don't have that fatigue.
I stopped after Endgame, and I can't go back because there's just so much, and it sucks because like the people I hang out with who want to watch movies are like, let's go see a Marvel movie. Like,
no, they're all the same after a while. But I understand that mindset of not wanting to give in to the sequel mania that's been happening recently. But it's such the storyline, I don't want to spoil it in case you ever do watch it, but it's just the storyline to me, it touches down on a lot of like issues that are happening, and the fact that it talks about issues that happen in like our time right now is why I loved it. It also makes fun of the Catholic Church a lot. And so obviously I'm like, well, now I'm in love with this movie.
Maybe I must watch it now.
Nice.
The guy who plays Mr. Bean is a Catholic priest.
What's his name?
I don't remember.
He thinks every joke has to. I forget what his.
Oh yeah, he had some dumb saying, a very weird stance on comedy once.
And then he did that thing about
Rowan Atkins.
That's the one, and he did the Bee, Rowan Atkins versus the Bee.
I watched the first episode, then I couldn't watch the rest. It's not my sense of humor.
Stupid slapstick.
I like his comedy better when he doesn't.
Yeah,
when he's silent.
Hey, speaking of talking, do you guys want to talk about this episode of Home Movies?
Absolutely. Sorry, I went on a Wonka tangent.
It's okay.
That is called the Creative Corner.
That's right. I'm putting timestamps in the description. They can fucking deal with it. All right, so this episode, it had DVD commentary, and boy, howdy, did I learn some things, okay? So according to the DVD commentary of this episode, they talk about the editing process, and holy smokes, folks. They even say most cartoons, when they're edited, each line of dialogue has a number next to it. The voice actor would read line 2, and he'd read it 2, 3, 4 times, and they'd pick right then and there in the booth which line they're going to use, move on, boom, streamline like that. Home movies, not even remotely close to how they do it. These guys would get together approximately 5 hours of audio and edit it down to 22 minutes.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
It was so labor intensive. So basically, instead of sending a script to Cartoon Network to review it, they would send transcripts of the 22 minutes of audio. And Cartoon Network is like, all right, yeah, cool. It works. That's fine. So they were completely fine with that. Now, seasons 2, 3, and 4, they switch from that squiggle vision animation and they actually use flash animation. So in those seasons, they call them the animatics, which are the still pictures. And then because it was in flash, they would just basically build the animation off of that. But they would get the audio first, like I said, up to 5 hours of audio and then fine tune that down to 22 minutes
That's
for the
wild.
episode. Just absolutely bonkers way to edit an animated series. That's just wild to me.
I mean, it is wild, but someone who like has to sift through like hours of audio just to find those like diamonds in the rough, because I didn't have time to like time code and direct at the same time. I literally just the other night had to cut all of the pieces together of them when they came over and recorded, because I just hit record and went for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Thank God you guys turned your mics off for some points so I could just like cut out that. But like I've been in that labor intensive audio, like there's nothing added or cut, or like me and Nate when we recorded Unsatka 2, we have to do so much other stuff. We just hit record and we're gonna have to do that's a future problem for us to deal with. But on that, I couldn't imagine with how much like killing your darlings as far as editing when they say something so funny that you're like, I want to put this in so bad, but I can't because we need 22 minutes.
Right.
Can you imagine how much stuff was on the cutting room floor that was just funny?
I'm sure it was gold.
I wonder if they ever, like, something would happen and then they'd be like, oh, we'll put this in a future episode just so we have it.
Oh, that like a doodly do.
Like a doodly-doo.
Like a doodly do.
All right, so the opening scene, Brendan is directing Jason and Melissa. He's explaining to Melissa that she is tormented, and then he explains to Jason that he is forlorn. Jason does not understand what the word forlorn means. He's like, is this forlorn? Just like...
Starts barking like a dog.
Yeah. So
I think I wrote here, that's how I that's how I direct. I'm like, you're forlorn. And then just... what does that mean? Levels of the way that David Lynch would direct it. He'd just like, do that again, but like the wind. No one knows what the fuck he's talking about, but you just have to go for it.
The following scene, Coach McGurk is asking Melissa how to spell the word sophisticated. I love this scene. Melissa keeps saying sophisticated before she starts spelling it, a la Spelling Bee style. But ultimately, she's helping Coach write a personal ad. I don't know if you kids remember this, but personal ads, men would straight up like write a personal ad for the paper and say, hey, I'm this type of guy. I'm looking for this type of girl. Here's my number. What's up? Like that was like the online dating of the time.
I mean, they still kind of did that with Craigslist. I know I
Craigslist
did.
still definitely does personals.
I was like, seeking man, I am 15.
Oh, no. Oh, did we just breeze past the Debbie bit that Jason said?
What was the Debbie bit?
Where they were talking about each other's grandfathers, and he's like, my grandfather likes
we
to dress me
did.
up and call me Debbie and try to kiss me.
Oh, that's the following scene.
Oh, shit, I'm sorry, guys.
No, it's okay.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, because it's the following scene there. It starts with Jason picking his nose, of course, and Melissa asking
Classic
him
Jason.
many times not to. Yeah, this is the scene where Brendan is asking if they're available for Saturday. And Melissa is not, because she's going to be with her grandfather. And that's when, Jason talks about his grandfather, makes him, what do you say, wear a dress and calls him Debbie, tries to kiss him?
Yeah.
He calls him Debbie and tries to kiss him.
Yeah.
And then there's that shot of just Brendan and Melissa like, oh.
Like, they were forewarned.
They were both very forlorn. And then he's like, no, I'm sorry. My grandfather was a surgeon who got hit with a malpractice suit for cutting off the wrong leg or whatever. And they're like, oh, is he still a surgeon? He's like, no, now he's a malpractice lawyer.
Is this the scene where Melissa said that her grandfather, she's like, the Titanic?
Yeah.
He saw that in the movie theater.
Yeah, she said he's a great storyteller, and they're like, really? And she's like, yeah, the Titanic? He saw the original in the theater.
Do you guys know the date? I had to look it up because I didn't know what year the Titanic came out in movie.
It was 1911, 1912?
No, when the movie came out.
The Leonardo DiCaprio one?
Yeah, the one that her grandfather saw in theater.
98?
97?
Babe, you are so good at dates. I can't even get over it. Yeah, it's 97.
Just that
I've been
bit
trying
of
to
the
date
90s.
Tim for a while.
Yeah, good luck. I've just had this streak with like mid-90s stuff where it's like, when did this thing from the... And I'm like, that's got a real 94 vibe to
Yeah, he's so good. We were in True North, and some song came on, and I was like, when did this song come out? He fucking nailed it.
Well, I was like, it does have a
immediately.
1997 vibe.
It just has that vibe.
Yeah.
Listen, the only time I know a year is if it's a fun song. Like fun.
Yeah.
Like tonight. Like that's the only time that's 2012.
Well, I also have that very specific time frame of movies of when I worked at Blockbuster, which would be like 2006, 7, 8.
Bro, it kills me that you worked at Blockbuster because that was my dream when I was a kid.
100 years old.
Oh my God.
Well, a good 94 feel. What's a good movie that came out in 1994? Oh, The Mask.
I'm so sorry.
We just got to watch that movie. I quote it so much.
I do like Jim Carrey.
Yeah. Oh, also in this scene, Brendan is trying to dissuade Melissa from going to the old folks' home because she might catch a old person disease and suddenly become old.
It's like if someone catches tuberculosis.
They become old.
Correct. Those iron lungs aren't young.
Consumption.
So the following scene, we are at the small residence. Brendan is answering the phone. It's Melissa. 2 episodes in a row, Brendan is offered some kind of project that is outside of his norm, and he is immediately like, nope. So this one, she asks about doing a documentary for her grandfather, and he very quickly says, no interest. Dude, she is fucking with him so hard. She's like, oh, is it too hard? Is it you not? Oh, because you... And finally he's okay. He said, okay, I don't want to be pigeon-toed, so I'll do it. And she's like, I think you mean pigeon-holed. And then she does the, because my dad was willing to pay you, and he's like, throw a number. She's like, 10?
10?
10?
I like how she just keeps giving him shit. I like how she's not afraid to... Sometimes it feels like Melissa is untouchable in this show because if anyone comes at her sideways, she really just like throws it right back in their face.
I think
she should.
Yeah, I think we all, but Brendan especially needs a Melissa.
100%. Everyone needs a Melissa in their life. I think even Melissa needs a Melissa in her life.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes her dad is that. I really liked the relationship with her and her dad.
Oh my God, I love her dad. We haven't gotten to that scene yet, but oh my God.
It came up organically. I wanted to throw it out there. I do really like that.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
No, and I think there is a very good reason behind that. And we touched on it, I think, in like maybe the first episode. But Melissa Galsky was essentially the assistant for Jonathan Katz for the Dr. Katz show. It was her job to go out and find talent and comedians and stuff like that, which I think probably where a lot of her like no nonsense comes from. But I think it's also where her really good rapport with Jonathan Katz or Eric, her dad, why they have such a good back and forth, because you can tell they've been working together. You know what I mean?
The chemistry comes through really well.
Absolutely. And I think they're both just hilarious. Yeah, the scene coming up, we'll get into it.
I just wanted to ask real quick, because every time there's every new episode, like there's some sort of like filmmaking process that Brendan's going through, like what type of thing. Like last episode was a musical. This episode is a documentary. How do you guys feel about documentaries as far as like respect level as a filmmaking thing? Maybe not respect, because that seems more of like mean thing to say, but like how do you feel about documentaries?
When I was younger, I hated documentaries. I thought all documentaries were boring, and then as you get older and you kind of do have those like fields of interest that intrigue you, you start to find documentaries that, kind of match. And intriguing documentaries always get me. I love anything that's like a story that you're like, whoa. But I also understand that documentaries do have a power to present things maybe in a way they aren't normally or shouldn't be presented. A lot of times people use kind of half-hashed documentaries to try to prove points. And it could be a very dangerous, especially, it's always good to know who's making this documentary and if they have any particular skin in the game, as it were. Yeah, because I'm sure there's documentaries out there made by people that can convince you a lot of things that just simply aren't.
Well, do you know the secret of 2017?
Mm-mm.
Are you about to get into some weird Alex Jones shit?
That was the Alex Jones thing. I'm not going to.
We don't do that.
Yeah, but did you watch any documentaries, or how do you feel about that?
I felt very similar growing up. I was not a documentary person until the creation of Netflix, where you could choose what documentary you wanted to watch.
Yeah.
My go-to is any kind of cult documentary. I'm watching that shit. Doesn't matter. I'm watching it.
Is that kind of not to call you out, because I definitely feel this way, is because of our religious trauma?
Oh, yeah. It makes me feel seen.
Yep. And then the 2020 Tiger King incident. That
oh, my God, yeah.
Well, that documentary just dropped at, the perfect time.
Perfect time. Carol
Everybody
Baskin.
had,
the
nothing but
memes.
time and...
The memes from that era. God.
Mm-hmm. I still haven't seen Don't Fuck with Cats.
That's a tough one.
That's a tough one. That's why I can't watch it, really, especially not with Nick anymore. Nick could not.
Yep. Those are the kind of documentaries, very intriguing, very tough to watch.
Mini documentary, Creative Corner. Dark Side of the Ring, I would love you guys to watch one of those episodes. It's literally a documentary series about...
I watched the one about Jake the Snake Roberts.
Oh, you did?
I hosted a show for Jake the Snake Roberts.
Holy shit! That's amazing.
Yeah.
I showed Nick that. Do you know who Jake?
I know who he is. Yeah.
Okay.
This
I
was
haven't
well
seen
before.
Yeah.
us.
I won't spoil anything for the documentary, but it gets in really, really, really
All
deep
of them,
into the
because I
weeds.
saw the Brett the Hitman Hart one,
Mm-hmm.
because I was familiar with his story. Next scene, we have Paula, Brennan, Josie. We're in a car. Paula is getting frustrated. The old man in front of her hasn't gone at the green, so she calls him a bunch of names, an old fart.
She's a little road ragey.
Who would even be like that?
I definitely didn't put road rage Tim with a heart next to it.
That's weird.
Yep.
All right, moving on from that.
I back you up.
Thank you.
What the hell is
Thank
going
you.
on?
Thank you so much.
You get so angry when there's traffic.
You really do. But it's not like that. I'm not worried about you getting out of the car and beating anyone up. That's that's the next tier of road rage. You have just you're yelling at them, but I'm the only one who can hear you road rage.
Traffic definitely makes your top 10 of the things you hate the most.
It's cute.
I'm feeling very personally
I love you for it.
and I'm the one that's got to drive us home.
He's going to be extra ragey.
I'm going to put on classical music, and I'm just not even going to...
He'll be like, excuse me, sir, could you go faster,
Excuse me,
please?
sir, you are doing 40 on the highway. If it's not too much of an inconvenience. After that scene, we have the first scene of Melissa and her dad, Eric, eating together at the restaurant. I even made a note here. I love their banter so much.
So good.
Their chemistry is phenomenal. Eric mentions he's excited for Brendan's documentary and that Melissa's grandfather is going to love it. Or hate it. He will definitely have a reaction.
Yeah. I love the dad jokes. The dad jokes got me.
Yeah.
So I got to go start the car. You distract the waiter. We'll both distract the waiter.
Yeah.
I got a star on my paper. Oh, you could probably get it off.
You could probably get that off, yeah. He's like, I sold 2 houses today. One of them was for sale.
You didn't sell any houses? Loser.
He's just kidding. Before that scene, actually, right before that one, is Brendan and Paula at Alien Burger.
Yes.
Paula is ordering 2 small fries before changing her mind and switching it to a large. Brendan does the little kid thing where he's like, no. I want my own fry. She's even calls him out you don't finish your fries. He's like, yeah, but today might be the day. And then I love that the drive-through worker chimes in come on.
Get him a fry.
And then Brendan's even Mom, he knows fries. He works with fries all day.
He says, yeah, Mom.
He's a professional.
I wanted you to... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say I wish Alien Burger was actually a place.
Oh, I'd eat there in a heartbeat.
Oh, my God.
Paula does yell at the drive-through worker. She's like, you let me handle my own kids. Getting a little aggro.
There's a second where the drive-through worker's on screen for no reason.
Yeah.
And I was going to beg you to pause it because I wanted to try and draw him because I tried to do a doodle. But, like, I was hoping he'd come back up. He never comes
did,
back.
No.
It was a split second.
So I love, and this will go into next scene too, but Area 51 Burger, he's got the sunglasses that look like alien eyes. They're parked in spot 51 for like
I didn't
Area
even notice
51.
that.
Yeah, and then Marson, you pointed at this. This is a couple scenes later, but we see in the background the car in the drive-through, a light comes on it, and the car slowly starts lifting up.
I didn't even notice that my first watch through. That was funny.
Yeah, just another like hilarious thing going on in the background. Before that scene, though, it's the one where Eric and Melissa are at the restaurant. He's like, okay, you distract the waiter. I'll go start the car. Okay, we'll both distract the waiter. Like, such a goof, especially in previous episodes. Like Melissa has been like kind of embarrassed of her dad, but ultimately, like he's such a good dad. The dad jokes are on point. You know, he's doing it.
I mean, even the relationship with Brendan's mom, like cutting back and forth was such a nice little detail.
Yeah.
Especially because I guess when we get home, I get my bag of I told you so's. Mom, we
Right.
can't afford fries, and you're buying all these bags of I told you so's.
So I think
good.
what also kind of gets portrayed in that back and forth too is the fact that Melissa and Eric are at like a very fancy restaurant. He even makes a joke about, is that Mozart? And like, you know, it's very nice. There's rolls. And Paula and Brendan are eating at Alien Burger. They're getting fast food. So I think that just kind of also gives us a quick little indicator of kind of where these two families are at financially. Not that there's anything wrong with getting Alien Burger.
I mean, I didn't even notice that, but that's a pretty good.
Yeah. It's alluded to, I think, before, but I think this might be the first time. But yeah, Eric he sells houses. He's a realtor, essentially. So I'm fairly sure, even though he is a single parent, you know, him and Melissa are pretty comfortable. There's, what was that, episode 2? Or no, episode 1. He's like trying to learn to play violin.
Yeah. There was a moment at the end of, I don't remember which part, but he was like, I love our time in the car. Right, Mom? You love it too, right? Right, Mom?
right,
And he's like
right.
trying to get her approval, and that was really cute.
But that's the thing. I think regardless of, you know, where the families are financially, it also shows that the bond between the parent and child are very strong with both families.
Yeah.
Brendan, even though, you know, he and his mom might be a little more dysfunctional, they're very close. And especially the first 5 episodes, Paula constantly made comments about how, like, sometimes I forget you're my son. we just talk like normal. So when we go back to Paula and Brendan eating their food, Paula asks Brendan how the fries are coming along, and he says there's too many. So that's where we get the line about the bag of I told you so's. That's where we see the car in the background getting abducted.
Pretty seamless transition between the two actresses now that I actually had to like listen to her a little bit
Yeah,
more.
she's got a little more dialogue this episode.
Yeah. I think she really, like, I wouldn't have noticed, just like you said last time. I wouldn't have noticed if I just watched it all the way through.
Yeah, she does a great job, and I like Janine DiTullio as Paula. So now we cut to a scene. It's Melissa's grandfather, and we find out this is actually Brendan going over kind of some of the footage. He comes to the conclusion that the shots are all extremely boring. And I love this part. He's like, man, this is boring. Eric is going to ask for his money back, and it's already been spent, and he hasn't even given it to me yet. Like, just that hilarious kid logic of like, oh, man, I'm screwed. Like, yeah, he's going to ask for that money that he didn't even give me yet.
Was that was like after they got a little bit of footage from the grandfather?
Yeah, so it shows footage of the grandfather, and I think he's talking about like radio or something. And then it kind of pans back, and it's Jason and Brendan watching the footage. Yeah, it looks like Brendan's reviewing the footage, and he's just like, this is so boring. Jason is like, it's educational, to say the least. And Brendan is like, no, I think it's too boring. He's like, but I have an idea that I think can save this project. And that's when they go back to the nursing home, and they dress up Melissa's grandfather in a dress and makeup while he was sleeping. And then they wake him up and start asking him about the war. Jason films it. You can clearly hear Brendan and Jason laughing as they do it.
Well, it was supposed to be funny.
There it is.
So, quick side note, Eric's father, Ned, was voiced by Will Lebo. Will did a lot of voices on Dr. Katz and is just a general kind of comedic voice actor. So I thought he did a really good job. Now we're at the 75th birthday party.
This one was hard to watch.
Yeah, that was tough. They play the video. It starts with Ned in full drag talking about when he was a teen. They listened to the radio because TV wasn't born yet. And then that just kind of brings Brendan into a tangent about the radio, back in the day, it was as big as a refrigerator and all this shit. And yeah, then we cut back to Ned and singing I'm a Little Teapot.
Mm-hmm.
Brendan's like moving his lips. And that's when Eric tells Brendan to turn it off.
It's a weird feeling because the only expression they really showed was the shocked audience for like a second. Mm-hmm. But even that just made me feel so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
This is the Scott's Tots episode of Home Movies.
Yeah.
The Scott's what?
Scott's Tots. It's an Office reference. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Sorry, you're too cool to watch Office, so you don't get the reference.
I was on Tinder for too long.
Scott's Tots is usually for most people, that's like the most cringy, unwatchable episode of The Office. But I think it's Dinner Party, to be honest.
Really?
Like, that one is pretty...
I softly disagree.
Okay.
I watched the first episode of The Office, and I found that very hard.
Wow,
The
what
first
an
season is
absolute
rough.
terrible episode to base your entire
Yeah.
opinion of a
I don't
okay
have
series.
I actually don't. My bad opinion of it, because everyone loves The Office, isn't that it's cringy. But the first episode, I couldn't get through Steve Carell's performance. But it's just so good, and it's become such a pop culture phenomenon that it like influenced so many other projects going down that same rabbit hole.
Well, we're the Office ladies now. This is an Office.
Yeah, I'm
rewatch
stepping off
podcast.
my side.
No, I would recommend to try to revisit The Office and just start at season 2.
Yeah.
That's
Really?
honestly the way to do
Do
it.
you miss anything from season 1?
No, not really. Maybe
No.
some like
And the first
awkward
episode,
romance between
yeah.
Jim and Pam. But
and
other than
the
that-
first episode being the pilot, they tried really hard to replicate the UK version, and then after that, it's completely its own thing.
Yeah, the UK version's very sad.
So, speaking of sad,
Oh, back to that scene.
sorry, we tried to avoid it. Damage is done. Melissa is very upset. Brendan,
she's pissed.
of course, doesn't read the room, and he's like, Melissa, you look so angry. Let me get my camera.
I wish I had a camera right now. Marson, 100%.
Every single time I think that there's some sort of cinematic moment, or like I think I said this before the podcast starts, whenever I laugh, sometimes I'm like, that was funny. I should have my camera out for that. But I never bring my camera anywhere, so it's moot. I don't know if that was Brendan just trying to avoid that, though. I definitely have been in that, like, you look pissed right now. Isn't that funny? And then just try to scoot past it.
Right. Try to use humor to... Growing up, humor was always my way to get out of things, either upsetting someone emotionally or physically. If somebody's crying, it was usually my little sister. If we were roughhousing and she's like, let me hurt myself more so you laugh and then I don't get in trouble.
Yeah. Is that why you became a comedian?
Oh yeah, comedy was a defense mechanism, especially in like junior high when I got bullied. Yes.
I'm sorry you were bullied.
I'm not.
This is the We Were Bullied support group.
Yes.
That's every time I go out with my friends.
Oh, real quick scene with Jason and Brendan on a seesaw.
Oh, yes.
Brendan asked Jason if Melissa's still upset, and he's like, well, yeah, she said you made pottery of her grandfather. And Brendan is like, oh, do you mean mockery? And Jason is like, yeah, mockery would make sense.
But she said pottery.
She did say pottery.
He doubled down.
Classic. Next scene, Brendan's talking to Coach McGurk, saying the titular, yeah, it was supposed to be funny. The coach explained the difference between mean funny and nice funny. And he's like, Brendan, you were mean funny. and then he suggests that, an apology with gifts. And he said oftentimes it leads to him having to give them money.
I was actually very surprised that Coach McGurk had that, like, wisdom for him.
Yeah.
Like,
But even then, he was like, did you put lipstick on him? Yeah, that's funny.
that's how my grandfather passed.
Yeah. Just
But like did he do more damage to his child's psyche than he did good? I think he personally, I think he did a little bit good.
I think this was the rare, like the broken clock being right twice a day, where McGurk's advice actually, I think it does hold true. I think he is right. What Brenda did was not nice, funny. He made him the butt of the joke, not part of it. Mm-hmm. So no, I think Coach is actually right on this one.
Yeah, it's like the April Fool's episode of SpongeBob.
What happens in that episode?
It's April Fool's, and then Squidward April Fool pranks SpongeBob back, but like covers it in garbage and makes him cry.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. That's where I remember the "you stink."
That's when he like falls out of the garbage can and still the cylinder shape.
Crying and Squidward's laughing.
Oh, I'm Squidward.
Hi Squidward, how you doing?
This will be a SpongeBob rewatch podcast.
Oh no,
that would be a very
Nate
very
would
long
love that actually.
We'd have content for years.
Yeah.
It's still going.
Yeah,
I think it should have stopped at the first SpongeBob movie.
yeah.
Oh,
I
100%.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it in theaters.
So did I. Classic. Tim and I watched it.
Did you see it in theaters?
No.
Yeah, he took me. Well,
Yeah.
Not with each other, but
I was 39 years old when it came. No, I'm just kidding.
why didn't you go see it?
I didn't have any
wasn't on
choice.
his radar.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I just assumed because you're at Blockbuster, you knew every.
Nope. Sorry.
I'm a goofy goober. Yeah. We're wrong. Okay, I'm done.
You're good.
Standing ovation.
So the next scene, Melissa walks in on her dad. He is watching the video that Brendan made, and he is laughing. Melissa is like, "What are you doing?" And he pretends to start crying. Melissa calls him out for laughing, and Eric says, "You know what? He might have taken it a little too far, but it was funny, and he wasn't malicious, Melissa." That was the part. It wasn't malicious, Melissa. Say that 3 times fast.
That's actually interesting from the two parts of the, like, Brendan's getting fatherly advice from Coach McGurk, and then Melissa's also getting some sort of advice about intention.
Right. And I think it's kind of pushing them both towards a middle ground of understanding, which is good. Brendan's reasoning was, like Brendan's reasoning in a lot of these episodes, it was very selfish. He was concerned about the quality of his project. He did that from a point of trying to make his project better, not thinking about the aspect of
Her actual feelings about her grandfather.
Right. Yeah, that is. I didn't even think of it like that. And those two scenes were back to back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
McGurk did have some advice that was just life sucks, which I.
Yeah.
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 Mood.
Yeah. He's like, life sucks. There's your advice.
Yeah.
Here's your advice, sir. He does live that whole advice for the rest of the episode. I did want to just point out that when they come to the door, which I think is right after Melissa and the dad talk for a second, that balloon pops up and scared the shit out of me.
Oh, yeah.
The like creepy smile balloon.
Yeah, it was so terrifying.
Are you talking about too on the poster board? He drew a picture of himself.
Oh, I didn't even notice
Yeah,
that.
that was kind of scary too.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, because right. So that's when Eric says he wasn't being malicious. Melissa tells her dad not to be drawn in by his boyish charm, and that's when he shows up to apologize with the balloons and chocolate.
Well, he is a boy.
Well, he is a boy.
Yeah.
And then I liked when Melissa was like, "You're gonna have to try better than that, Brennan Small," and he's like, "Oh, both names."
Both names? Yeah. The scene after that is Brendan and his mom at the grocery store. She offers to help an old woman get something off a shelf, but when they turn around, they realize it was a man. Paula grabs the item, goes to hand it to the old man, and it falls on the ground. I love Brendan's like, "It wasn't me, it was my mom."
Just pointing right at her. It was her.
Such a little kid thing to do.
I love doing that at grocery stores. I used to be so obnoxious. People didn't even want to come out with me in public because I would try to make other people uncomfortable by screaming in the grocery store just randomly as we're walking through. Just, you guys are lucky I'm here at this point in my life.
That's why when I was a kid, my mom would buy me a shut up muffin. So I'd just sit in the cart and eat my muffin.
That's funny.
I hope I'm not showing my age too much, and I swear this wasn't neglect, but my parents got to a point where they're like, do you guys just want to wait in the car while
My
we
mom
go?
did that too. Oh my God, mom story. My mom would not let me go into White Hen Pantry. And so she made me sit in the car every single time. And one time I asked her why, and she said, it's an adult store. They don't let kids into White Hen Pantry.
And then when you turned 18, you're like, can I finally come into White? And they're like, what are you talking
What do you
about?
mean?
We had a
Do you
white.
need to see my ID?
You walk in with your ID out. I've been waiting until I turned 18.
I wasn't allowed at the White Hen, but it was because I would want to buy the toys every single time.
There were toys in White Hen Pantry?
The
And now
one-
we learned why. We weren't allowed.
Mary? My God. I told my dad that, and he's all like, your mom left you in the car? I was like, yeah,
Oh my God.
multiple times.
Our parents would leave us in the car for almost an hour, probably just to enjoy the freedom for an hour. Shopping without children.
That's, you know what, that might be the reason, actually. I agree with that. Like, take the time you need.
Yeah.
My parents came back, I literally in front of the White Hen, I took a paper clip, and my dad's like 1990, whatever, Ford truck, blah, and I was like, oh, I'm going to draw a picture on the glass, and I scraped a house and a stick figure.
Was that the last time they left you in the car alone?
No, because they weren't going to, like, take that time, but oh my God, they were so pissed.
At first, I thought you were going to say you jammed it in like the keyhole.
Right.
No, I just made a pottery of their vehicle.
That's good.
Callback.
Hell
All right.
yeah.
So now we're at soccer practice. Brendan is telling Coach McGurk that he has an idea to make it up to Melissa. He's going to cut parts of Ned's interview, cut them with reenactments from when Ned saved somebody's life in the war. Brendan asked McGurk if he would be interested in the lead role, and McGurk literally has stars in his eyes.
I drew a doodle of that.
That was hilarious.
Yeah.
Man, I really love these early seasons because there's so many things that happen in some of these episodes that similar things do happen in later episodes.
Like the motif of stars and eyes.
No, but maybe talking to Coach McGurk about potential acting roles
Oh,
might come up again.
I did actually bring this up. The fact that he wants McGurk to play Ned, but Melissa's father, who looks exactly
Right.
like.
Yeah, I had that thought too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I guess my theory of logic behind it is he knew that the Ned character was going to have to carry someone. And if he got McGurk and Eric involved, there's no way Eric is going to carry McGurk around.
That would have been funny to
Oh,
see.
it would have been hilarious.
Yeah.
It probably just wouldn't have worked out.
Just a very quick filmmaking thing. I was in a thing and I had to pick somebody up, and the camera was coming over on top of me, and the actress couldn't help me at all. She was supposed to be limp, and I was just picking up a dead body basically, and I was picking her up, but it was so hard. You can't. It's hard to pick up someone from the ground.
Yes.
And
Well, and dead weight is
Oh, yeah.
very heavy.
Oh, but then cut to the premiere of it in front of like a student body audience, and the dude kept the full 30 seconds of me trying to pick up this.
Oh, no.
And everyone's laughing at me as I'm just like.
What is
Bro.
this for?
It was I think I still have it somewhere. It was just a short film for college, but it was we put it to the film festival at the
Cut
college.
around it.
Yeah, right.
Just cut around it.
I knew the dude too because he was like zooming out. He was trying to make it super artsy the whole time that 30 seconds are going by as the zoom. I was pissed. I was so mad. I don't know why my ego got involved, but everyone
I
was
guess-
laughing.
I guess that makes it more realistic because picking up a dead body
Is tough.
Yeah,
Tough.
exactly.
So, all right. Well, speaking of, well, not dead body, but the next scene is Brendan directing for I just called it a docu-movie. He's directing Jason, trying to figure out if he knows any German. It indeed does not, really.
No, he did. He said "Ich bin Berliner."
Oh, ich bin ein Berliner.
Yeah, that's what he said.
And then he tried to say, ask not what you can do for your country, but ask what your country can do for you in German. In German. While Brendan is directing, Eric and the coach are preparing for their scene. Eric recommends McGurk does a breathing exercise where he breathes heavily through his nose. So when they start the film, all you hear is McGurk like just loud breathing through his nose. And then Eric starts to laugh and improv lines. And Brendan, being the control freak he is like, no, just he yells cut and he tells Eric, just do the lines. McGurk actually complains about it too. McGurk is like, what are these lines? Better Ned than dead? Like what
What is this guy doing over here?
yeah. So he tells Eric to just stick to the script. He tells McGurk, just breathe normal, dude, please. You don't do the news thing. And they do the scene again, and honestly, like Eric and Coach kind of nailed it. Like they got it. Brendan holds up the flag and like pans. It's So then McGurk is like, okay, can we do my thing? And Brendan is like, yes. And McGurk's like, I'm just gonna change right here. Starts changing his clothes. He's like, yeah, it's not my neighborhood.
That was the thing. That was the gnome. The gnome showed up in the bomb.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I do have that right here. Side note, the gnome is like the enemy infantryman that he throws the grenade at. That was the gnome for this episode. So then after that, we have a quick cut where we have Coach McGurk doing another weirdly 90s thing. He seems to be shooting a video for a video dating service, which is a thing from back then. It was a service where you would literally film a little intro on a VHS. And you would submit it to this service. They would make copies. They would send it to other women, and they would try to like match you like that.
What a time.
Right?
That's so wild. I couldn't even. I'd be so embarrassed to have somebody. I mean, but I have a YouTube channel that they could look at any time. So I guess that's the same thing. Wasn't there? What was the Woody Allen movie that was that started and ended with him doing that? It was.
I'm gonna go ahead and tell you right now, Chief. I have no idea.
Damn it! Yeah, that wasn't from the '90s. You probably wouldn't have gotten it.
Sorry, if it was from '97 or '94, I might be able to. So
The
this
golden
is
years.
yeah. This is Coach's dating profile here.
Say anything?
Yeah, just start talking, you know.
Okay. All right. Hey, ladies. My name is John McGurk.
Jason just awkwardly backs out of the
I'm
scene.
a professional soccer coach at the elementary school level, and I own a nice car, though I do not currently have legal access to it. As you can see, I used to be in good shape, and in the last 2 years, I've successfully completed 4 out of 5 rehab programs. The kind of woman I'm interested in is the one, I guess, who's still watching this video.
Cut. Okay, I'm going to stop you right there.
The line, as you can see, I used to be in shape. It still kills me.
Yeah. I feel like McGurk has a few references to being a little upset that he's no longer in the shape he once was in. So after that, we have the penultimate scene. This is where we see the end of Brendan's docu-movie, which is Coach McGurk playing Ned again. He is holding Jason, who is playing baby Melissa, and the character Ned says this is the happiest day of his life. We have a brief conversation between Melissa and Brendan where she pretends to like still be mad at him. She's like, you just don't get it, do you, Brendan? And he's like, "Wait," and she's like, I'm just kidding. Like, you're cool. We're cool.
I was gonna say, well, like, explain what's going on.
Right.
I had to give him just a little bit more shit.
I really love when she just throws more shit down his, like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we cut to Ned, who is like, that was the biggest piece of... And then they admitted in the commentary that this second to last scene at the end of this was probably really not in good taste.
It really wasn't. I was actually really scared.
It was just Ned literally like flatlining, and then they got the defibrillator. They zap him. He's back. Everyone's like, yay, flatlines again, zap him again, kind of rinse and repeat a few times. It's funny because I know this episode came out right around high school. I just finished high school, I believe. And at that time, I hadn't lost any grandparents, so I didn't really think much of it. But rewatching it now as someone who actually doesn't have any grandparents, I'm like, oh, no, I don't like that. But, you know, I guess that was kind of a joke.
I mean,
At
especially
the time is the flatline come back multiple times.
I think the only joke that I actually laughed at was when Melissa's dad was like, I gotta go.
Yeah, he's literally like kind of frustrated. He's like, we have things to do.
When it first flatlined, I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, it really did surprise me. Does he ever come back?
No.
So, like, in canon...
I don't think they ever allude to him like passing or anything like that. I just don't think they ever see the character again.
in my theory.
So now, yeah, Eric says they have other things to do. So now the final scene is just a montage of everyone's video dating apps, some of which are kind of cringy. You know what? Let's just watch these two.
Hi. How'd you like to wake up next to this?
Okay, cut. My ideal woman is a woman who cares about the world, plus 15%. I'd like a tall woman about my height.
Yep.
Jason just picking his nose.
That
Ideal woman is my mother, actually, who I hate.
I need a nice young woman to cut my toenails.
I'm looking for a woman who will accept me for who I am and not for my money. Although I'll give you $50.
God, I love her dad so much.
He is an absolute goof.
He's a goofy man.
He's a goofball.
He's a goofy goober.
Hey, we did it, gang. That is the end of season 1, episode 7. It was supposed to be funny.
Was it?
I thought it was.
Yeah, I thought it was fun.
It was funny. I think Brendan learned some lessons in that one. I think
yeah.
Melissa,
He's been learning lessons.
yeah, for sure. Let's give this episode grades. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
What do you got?
It was very cringy at times.
Yeah.
Uncomfortable. So because it made me uncomfortable at times, I am going to give it a B.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I at first was going to give it like a B minus, but then when we talked a little bit about how the reason I was going to give it a B minus was because Melissa, her side of it wasn't coming along, like she wasn't really explaining why she was upset. Obviously, you know why she's upset, but it just felt like it was Brendan trying to appease her. But then when we had the conversation about Melissa's dad also trying to teach this, like, you got to worry about intention too. Like, you can't just be mad at someone because they did something. You know, sometimes people do it out of the goodness of their hearts and they just, it wasn't malicious.
They missed the mark.
Yeah. So I gave it a B after that. Yeah. I really did like that they both had some sort of journey on it and it wasn't just Brendan's show.
Yeah. Well, I feel like someone needs to alert Jerry Seinfeld because I'm giving it a B also. So we're B movies across the board.
B movies.
I have not seen B movie.
Really?
I know. You should, if there's a question, if I've seen it, the chances are it's no.
Yeah, odds are usually it's no.
Yeah.
We got to start watching more movies. Honest to God.
I'm down.
Yeah.
Marcin, I need a grade for. Do you want to give Brendan a grade this episode?
Brendan, I wanted to give him. I really think that in the beginning, he was just being the usual, like, egocentric person that he usually has been, but he really, the second he was in the room and he was reading the room and he's like, oh no, I regret this terribly. I think that he was a good person as far as like the intention of it. He was trying to make it funny. He didn't care about her project. So I was like, I gave him a C. I don't think that he was the best person, but I think that's kind of like the premise of these episodes.
Right.
Yeah.
I definitely think he learned a bigger lesson in this episode than maybe like the previous episode, Director's Cut, for example. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. And then do you got a grade for Jason? How many times did he pick his nose this episode?
So many times.
Quite a few, yeah.
And that last, at one point, I was going to give him B for booger, but then in the middle of him picking his nose, he pulls it out and then he's like twirling it around.
He waves to Brendan and it like wraps around his finger.
Yeah, and so I gave him a C.
Okay.
And then that last little segment there where he's just picking his nose randomly again, I gave him a C minus.
Okay,
Fair.
all right.
That's fair.
That's passing.
Yeah.
Okay, but like, good. I want him to succeed. I don't want. Otherwise, I'd sit here and like, Mr. Jason, you must get an F. 10 points to not your house.
Nice. Well,
10 points from Hufflepuff.
Pufflehuff.
Pufflehuff.
Pufflehuff is how I feel when I'm with you guys, and we're like,
Let's puffle some huff.
what you talking about, bro?
Also, just a quick story about the B movie thing. I mean, my friend used to, every time we went to a store and we found B movie, like really cheap, we would buy all the copies.
Oh my God, really?
We did it like 3 times, and then we just had like...
That's dedication. How many do you have?
We had 30 combined.
Isn't the premise of B movie like a bee and a human woman falling in love?
And suing the human race.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And we are now a B movie rewatch podcast. We did it.
We did it.
All right, guys, for real, though, that is the end of this episode. We made it. Thank you so much for joining us. 5-star reviews, I'll read them. I don't give a fuck.
And I guess I'll read the 0 stars review in private.
Yes, I don't want to hear those. That being said, do we have anything coming up we want to promote?
Adele has a new Instagram.
Follow me on Instagram at Artisanal of Oddities. Artisanal. I feel like I'm going to mess it up every time I say it, so I have to say it really slowly.
Smart.
Artisanal of Oddities on Instagram.
There you
if
go.
you care to see what my paintings look like.
And they look great.
Thank
I
you.
agree.
I'm looking at one right now.
We'll put
I had
that in the
to
show notes.
really prevent, like, I really had to resist posting the stuff that I painted for Season of the Curse too.
I think you should.
I think I'm going to wait until it comes out, and then I'll post it on there.
Okay.
Just so there's no spoilers or anything.
I think it would be a good way to promote it, but like maybe a little bit further down the line.
Yeah,
I
I
think
can
when
see
I
that.
drop the trailer, maybe that'll be
Yes.
a good time.
All right.
Speaking of that, me, Adele, and Tim are all working on a project outside of this as well called Season of the Curse 2. We are dimming right ahead. That's how a train works. Working on the production, and it's going well. It's smooth. The schedule is going fine. We're in communications, and that's what the best you can help on a film set, filmmaking process. Another project me and Adele are working on is Puzzle Valley 2000.
Hell yeah.
It's a sequel series to a mini-series that I've done on my podcast, Eldritch Journeys, called Puzzle Valley. It's a high school teen detective story. The first season is set in 2018, and it's got its own original soundtrack. I wrote it. It's really good. It's one of the most important projects I've ever worked on.
It's so good. Listen to it.
I very much appreciate that. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff I'm missing out on, but also shout out my buddy Nate, also known as Punkin Nonstop on YouTube. He has so many videos, thousands, countless, 15 years worth, even longer than that. Yeah.
And as always, we are brought to you by the Happy Corner Podcast. They are nice enough to let us use their recording studio. So check out the Happy Corner Podcast. They live stream every Sunday at 1:45 Central on Twitch and YouTube under the Happy Corner Podcast. And then the episodes drop on Tuesday wherever you find your audio podcasts. That's going to do it for this episode of Rewatching Home Movies. Join us next week for Season 1, Episode 8, Method of Acting. I want to give a shout out to the Home Movies Brendan Posting Facebook group. I posted about the podcast and got a lot of positive feedback, so thank you very much. If you liked what you heard, check out our Linktree at RHMpod. There you can like, follow, and subscribe, as well as leave a 5-star review. I will read 5-star reviews on the podcast. Thanks to Tom Traeger for the refresh of our logo and Chris Bongat for the use of our theme song. On behalf of myself, Tim, and my co-hosts Marcin and Adele, thank you for rewatching home movies with us. We'll see you next week. Bye.